Happy Friday and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Enhanced Learning Live webinar series. If you're new to this webinar series, we do welcome you. My name is Bloom de la Cruz. I am the moderator for the series. I'm also one of the product officers of CNE Publishing. So for those of you who have joined us over the last 19 sessions, because this is our 20th session now, we welcome you back. So today we're going to be talking about remote learning for students with disability. We're just going to wait for a few more hundred participants to come in, and we'll be starting the webinar in a few minutes. So just stick around and stay safe, everyone.
Hi, I'm a student like you. This is me at university. Now listen up. I know how much this could help you. I'm Abby. This is my lab and mastering. You see, it's how they help you learn that's cool. Yes, my lab and mastering provide you with study and revision tools. But the thing is that you can access them on your devices, anywhere, anytime. Perfect for my late night cramming sessions. Or at the cafe, on the way to uni. Come to think of it, practically anywhere you want. When you're using My Lab and Mastering, it provides progress checks and instant feedback. You see, what you study is personalized to you, no matter who you are. Like having your own private tutor to help you identify what things you should work on. As a student, sometimes I feel overwhelmed with what I need to study, and I try to take in everything at once. But My Lab and Mastering makes things easier. They provide content which is relevant to me. It's based on my needs, and it's digestible. The best thing about My Lab and Mastering is that they're for me, but they're for you too. You, and you.
Good morning again. We'll just wait for a few more participants to come in before we start off. So hello and welcome, of course, to everyone who have just come into the Enhanced Learning live webinar series. See you in a little while. So while we're still waiting for other participants, maybe I could just like to acknowledge those that have just come in who are very active in the chat. Of course, I'm seeing people from Cebu, from Sorsogon, Antipolo City. Yeah, for those of you who have just come in, maybe you could just type it in the chat box so I know from where you are. We've got somebody from Quezon City, Taguig, Surigao del Sur, Cagayan de Oro, Bulacan. We're seeing people from various parts of the country. Cabadbaran City, Bulacan, SDO, Quezon City, and Sarangani, Kalibo Aklan, Quezon City, Batangas, Cebu, Davao del Norte, Manila, Davao, Misamis Oriental. Quite a lot of people right now coming in. Florida Blanca, Pampanga, Mandaue, Quezon, San Pablo, Laguna, Santa Maria, Bulacan, Consolacion, Cebu, Pateros, Taguig, Navotas, Camarines Norte copies, but we'll have about 152 now. La Union, Lucena. So maybe we could just wait for a few minutes. This does start supposedly at 10, so we'll probably give them about 8 more minutes to come in before we start off. In the meantime, I want to greet everyone. By the way, I'm back at home in Manila. For those of you who are wondering where I am, we're still chilling with the work from home thing because of the COVID, and I hope you're all safe from where you are. Shout out, of course, to the people in Cebu that I know you're under MGCQ as of yesterday, and I hope you're all doing fine. Good morning to. We got some San Mateo Rizal. Anyone here from outside of the Philippines? Anyone here joining us? Type it in. Yeah, of course, our speaker is Miss Andrea is coming in from. Are you coming in from Boston? Yeah.
I'm outside of Boston. I'm in Rhode Island. I'm a little bit south, but about an hour south of Boston.
Okay. So it's evening right there. I suppose it's a 12-hour delay.
It is. It's 10 p.m., almost 10 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. To the rest, good morning. Yeah. Hello. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's still Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So here we're closer to the weekend. And so far, I think, I hope everybody's doing fine from where they are. We're all in probably most of us are in our homes, but probably some of them are also working from their offices, those that are actually can be able to go to work. Of course, joining us also in the panel, Teacher Mai. Hi. Hello. Okay.
Hi, Miss Bloom. Yes, I'm
Hello.
joining you from Brisbane, Australia.
Okay.
So we're advanced by 2 hours. So almost
okay.
12 noon.
12 noon. Okay. So I can see there that from the chat as well, we still have someone from Camarines Norte. Anyone want to, maybe let's find out where you're all coming from. Are you at home or at, maybe just type their home or office or school. Let's find out where they are. From Tagaytay, watching from Makati, Cebu, home. Okay, most from them. Home, working from home, watching from home, work from home. Yeah, I think majority is actually at home. Okay, we have some from some schools in Quezon City, working from home. Home in Malolos, Bulacan, work from home. Yeah, Jean, let me know if you want to show anything else. I could stop this. Working from home. Yeah, somebody's sipping a cup of coffee while working from home. Yeah, I've had my morning coffee and I can only take one a day or else I'll blast to the ceiling and my heart rate will pulse. So I keep it at one a day. Inside, oh, somebody's actually inside. It's, work from home. Okay, from Davao de Oro. SDOQC. Minglanilla, Cebu. Hope you're all okay in Cebu. I know the cases, it's the epicenter right now, but hope you're all staying safe. SDOQC. Okay. Yeah. Let's give them 3 more minutes because we have only 207. We have quite a number more that we're expecting. So let's just wait for them a little bit, just so everybody could come in before we start.
Welcome to PrepU. What is PrepU? PrepU is an adaptive quizzing program designed to improve students' content knowledge through targeted practice. PrepU also helps instructors with in-depth, real-time analysis of their students' knowledge. At the heart of PrepU is a library of quiz questions that, with the help of students across North America, has been calibrated, determining each question's level of difficulty. As students take quizzes, PrepU monitors their progress, assessing their level of comprehension, or in PrepU terms, their mastery level. Based on this information, PrepU can more effectively tailor its quizzes so that the students are appropriately challenged. This level of challenge is known as the zone of proximal development and is where most learning takes place because the student is ready for that level. This process also provides specific data that allows instructors to best determine which students require remediation. How does PrepU help instructors? Faculty can simply access the How's My Class Doing page to gain detailed real-time data on student performance, both individually and collectively. Additional information is also available, such as average mastery level scores, class strengths and weaknesses, how often students use PrepU, and alerts about students' common misconceptions. Armed with this information, faculty can effectively and efficiently customize their curriculum. PrepU also allows faculty to review a library of high-quality questions, rich with historic answer data, misconception considerations, and a variety of sorting options. How does PrepU help students? PrepU allows students to quickly assess their progress and determine where they need assistance. By accessing the How Am I Doing page, students can quickly track their progress and see where they need to focus their studies. Practice quizzes are a key student resource in PrepU. Students choose the chapter or chapters on which they want to be quizzed. PrepU's adaptive system then looks at how the student performed on previous quizzes and chooses questions that precisely target that student's mastery level. As a result, students are challenged with questions that are difficult enough to help them learn, but not so difficult that they become overwhelmed. After the quiz, PrepU provides a detailed rationale for each question. In addition, students receive direction to where they can find information in their associated Lippincott course textbook. Faculty are amazed by the positive results that their students have had with PrepU.
By having students take quizzes before the exam, I am able to provide the individual student and the entire class direction to specific areas to focus their study so they can prepare for the exam.
Seeing where my students are having trouble this semester through PrepU will change how I teach this material next semester.
So what is PrepU? PrepU is smarter than the average quiz. Improving student outcomes, improving instructors' effectiveness. PrepU leads to successful courses and students. Now PrepU is available for your courses. To learn more, visit the point today.
I can't wait to teach my students to memorize this semester.
I love having to have 10 Wikipedia articles open to learn one thing.
I love sending my students to 5 different locations in order to complete one assignment.
I love waiting an entire semester to find out a grade that I should have gotten in the first week of class.
I love having 9 different logons for the same course.
One of my favorite things about the internet is Facebook postings as sources in student work.
Because that's fun. Who doesn't like doing that?
Nobody likes doing that. That's why there's MindTap. MindTap is the digital learning solution that transforms today's students into critical thinkers. Through personalized paths of dynamic assignments and applications, MindTap turns cookie cutter into cutting edge, apathy into engagement, and memorizers into higher level thinkers.
MindTap provides a really unique learning path where the path itself follows Bloom's taxonomy, so the students in the worksheets are getting the knowledge that they need to have, and then through the brief hypotheticals and the videos, they're getting a little higher level thinking, more the comprehension, more the application, and then finally we have the blueprints where the students are actually using critical analysis to solve problems.
Thanks to MindTap's carefully curated material, you get the precise content and groundbreaking tools and applications you need for every course you teach. MindTap takes students through the streets of Rome to study the Colosseum, With UCU Mind App, students interactively practice and present speeches rather than practicing in front of a mirror. In addition, MindTap's innovative personalization tools allows you to customize every element of your course. From rearranging the table of contents to inserting videos, comments, activities, and more into the MindTap reader itself.
I have the opportunity to go in and in the learning path add my own assignments.
I think it's very important for the professor to put in what they want, or else the students won't know what's going on, because the textbook alone isn't ever enough.
I am able to customize the course, not only with personal content, but I'm able to choose the things that I know are going to work for my individual student population.
With MindTap, instructors promote positive outcomes by tracking students in real time and tailoring your course and lectures as needed based on the analytics in MindTap.
The analytics in MindTap are amazing. I am able to see what students are doing, how much time they're spending, which activities they're spending their time in, and I see a direct correlation in terms of the breakdown of grades.
When we got to the analytics screen, and I saw how easy all of that stuff was compared to what I was doing in the past, that was instantaneously obvious to me, a massive time saver.
Gone are the days of studying in a dorm room or library. Students' hectic schedules require tools that support their on-the-go lifestyles.
I think my biggest struggle as a college student is studying on time.
Today's student is overwhelmed.
Students come to me with a different level of technical knowledge.
So it's a kind of an odd mix of experience levels, life experience, and maturity.
Biggest struggle is time management and juggling.
MindTap's Read Speaker reads chapters aloud for students who learn best through listening or need to learn on the go. And the new MindTap mobile app allows for unparalleled flexibility by helping students stay in touch and study for exams anytime and anywhere.
I love MindTap.
I love MindTap. One of my students said to me, I wish I had MindTap for every course.
Because a lot of students these days study on the go, so if I'm on BART, I have an hour to kill, I would like to just pull out an iPad or a phone and look at my textbook.
By the final, I had another 5%, half a letter grade increase between the midterm and the final in that class based on using MindTap. And it's working so well, MindTap accounts for 45% of their course grade.
I love MindTap. MindTap definitely provides me with all of the elements I need to succeed as an instructor, but more importantly, MindTap provides all of the elements my students need to succeed as well.
Turn the light on with MindTap.
So, good morning again, everyone. And for those a few hundred more that joined us, we would like to welcome you to CNE Publishing's Enhanced Learning Live webinar series. My name is Bloom Rula de la Cruz. I'm your moderator for this morning's session, which is called Remote Learning for Students with Disabilities. And this is actually our 20th session. So, if you've been with us over the last few months, we actually started this session, these Learning Live webinar sessions all the way from May 1st. This is actually our 20th session, and we've talked about a lot of things: online classroom management, online assessments, how to do remote teaching, how to do collaboration when you're doing remote sessions. You've even talked about the changing research agenda in education. So we've talked a lot about how you as teachers and educators could adapt to the new normal. And today we're doing something very specifically special, which is a very important thing to know, that education should always be inclusive. And this would also be very inclusive for students that also have disabilities. And probably this is even more of a challenge because a lot of our teachers will have to do this on a remote basis. And today, we hope we can share with you some insights on how to do remote learning for students with special needs or students with disabilities. So just before we start off, of course, for those of you who are just learning about CNE Publishing for the first time, we'd like to invite you to watch this short video to know more about the company I work for, and the one which is CNE, which has been around for the last 25 years in the Philippines as a distributor of adaptive solutions and learning resources. So just watch a short video, and we'll come back in a little while.
CNE Publishing Incorporated was established in 1993 to engage primarily in the business of reprinting and distributing foreign medical and science books, with acquired copyright licenses from international publishers. With the advent of the 21st century, the company embarked on a publishing thrust and started expanding its range of titles. By inviting local authors to write and publish books on various disciplines, including medicine, nursing, psychology, and law. It also published locally authored textbooks for basic education, as well as trade books. As CNE's publication of local titles grew, the reprinting of widely prescribed foreign titles for basic and higher education, and the importation of books from reputable international publishers also flourished. By doing so, it has managed to produce up-to-date, premium-quality educational products to address the needs of reading public in general, and clients from the academia in particular. Thus, CNE has positioned itself at the forefront of the Philippine book industry. CNE is a dynamic company that envisions itself as a leading developer, publisher, and provider of globally competitive educational resources and solutions for the Philippine academic and professional markets. In pursuit of this vision, CNE is committed to providing innovative and comprehensive educational resources and solutions, and continually strives to be a responsible corporate entity that balances the interest and needs of customers, stakeholders, and the community. These vision and mission are guided by the corporate values of integrity, professionalism, innovation, excellence, leadership, and social commitment. Throughout its 25 years of existence, the company has always recognized the challenges and opportunities in the industry, and it will continue to do so in the years to come to address the teaching and learning needs of students, educators, and professionals in the 21st century. With the theme 25 years and beyond, excellence through innovation, empowering education, CNE is more than ready and determined to shape the future of learning.
So hello again. So just before we start off with our webinar, a few house rules for everyone. If you notice that all of your microphones are set to mute and your cameras have been disabled, this will allow us to make sure that we conserve a little bit of the broadband and we reduce the noise so our speaker can discuss the topic without much interruption. But don't worry, we do want to make sure that our webinars are inclusive. So there are actually two communication channels you can make use of. So if you notice, there's a Q&A box and then there's the chat box. So for the Q&A box, we would like to ask you to reserve that for questions you would like to ask our speaker at the end of her discussion. For the chat box, you can make use that for any other communications you want. Some of our speakers actually even use that to interact with our participants during the course of the topic. So some of you might be wondering if we provide certificates for these sessions. Yes, we do. So this is how we will provide them to you. If you notice that when you entered Zoom, if you are using a PC or a laptop, there is a URL or a Google form that appears automatically into your default browser. So please answer that form. Make sure that you put in the correct spelling of your name, because that will be the basis for us to know what name to put into your certificate. Please make sure as well to provide the correct email address in the form. Now, if you want a copy of slides or any of the visuals that we provided, please make sure that when you answer the form, you say yes when we ask you if you want copies of that so we can send that to you. Now for the videos, we will have to, we cannot really send that automatically because it's such a big file. If you want a copy, you could just send us an email at customerservice@cebookshop.com. So for those of you who have been joining us for the last several sessions and maybe we've missed out any of those certificates that we've sent out, please just send us an email through that same email address. Now, for those of you who would miss that Google form or maybe you accidentally closed it, don't worry, we will flash the URL to obtain the Google form at the end of the session, and we'll try to send that link out to you on your registered email address within 24 hours after this session. Okay, so I hope that clears up most of your questions about the certificates and PowerPoints. So I would like to move forward and introduce our speaker for this morning session. Our speaker today is Miss Andrea Stavrakas. Andrea is a special education inclusion specialist, K-5 in Wellesley Public Schools in Boston, Massachusetts. She graduated with a degree in educational psychology from New York University. She has an extensive background on providing services to students with disabilities in general education. Her tasks include modifying curriculums to enable access and designing individualized education plans. She is also an adjunct instructor who develops professional development or graduate courses for teachers, as well as an academic coach and mentor for special education teachers and teaching assistants for students with disabilities. Andrea is also an advisory board member of the Teachers Gallery. This is a social enterprise founded from an advocacy for inclusive education and is currently run by passionate educators who are international and local technical experts in various fields of education. So please give a warm virtual applause to our speaker for this morning. I would like to turn you over now to Miss Andrea Stavrakas. Hi, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I can't see you, but it's nice to know that I'm going to be with my friends. I'm hoping to come back someday when we can travel again. Like you, I am doing my social distancing, and I am working today from home. It's actually evening here, and so I'm very anxious to get started, and I'm hoping to share some things with you. Like you, I was thrown into this. I don't think any of us were expecting this to happen. I think in March it was. So with my background, I teach students who are fully included but do have IEPs and have disabilities. So we really had to learn very quickly how we could adapt curriculum and provide it and deliver it in this new format. So I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint. Give me a second here. I know sometimes with my Zoom here, although I'm on Zoom all the time now, I'm getting used to it. I am going to give me a second here. Bear with me. How are we going?
Seeing it
we
now.
Good?
Okay,
we got
full
it.
screen.
Okay. All right, so this is about me, and we're really going to, so I'm going to go over the title, and we're going to talk about options for student engagement. And I think that's going to be the big topic, is really how do we keep our students engaged? So what happened with the global pandemic, it really resulted in very unexpected and very abrupt school closures around the world. And I think that's something that we all had in common. And a lot of us found ourselves really not prepared to deliver education to students, and we were requiring the quarantine. I just remember, I think it was March the 12th, we were told to go home, and then we haven't been back to school since. So we began looking for ways to engage and teach students given the confines of stay-at-home orders. A lot of teachers look to students. But what we learned very quickly is that we had some obstacles in reaching a large portion of the student population. We noticed that there was a lot of inequity. Children from low-income families often lived in areas that had poor or no internet connectivity, so that was a challenge. My district, we were fortunate that we had the resources that we could provide iPads to any family that did not have a device. We had access. That did take a while, so it took about a month. So we had some of our students were really not getting instruction right away. It took us a while to get all of those pieces in place. So what happened was we had achievement gaps that were already in place in the United States, and I'm sure in the Philippines as well, that students based on the social class and race, and it was widening. We were finding that this achievement gap was only really getting bigger and bigger by the minute. And we greater disadvantage. So that was going to be a real challenge for us. So we were talking about facing these inequities, and then what were the factors that were enabling teachers to deliver the instruction? So what happened was the level of internet access that not only the students had, but some of the teachers had some problems. I had a colleague, she had 3 college sons at home, and she was trying to teach online while her sons were using. That was a challenge for their family. They had to really come up with some solutions to enable her to do that. And then a lot of the teachers had their own children that they had to work with. So with quarantining and being at home, I know teachers, some of my colleagues who had very young children that really couldn't bring childcare into the house. That was a challenge. And how were we going to work that out? And I was part of a lot of negotiating with my district, fair for everybody to participate. And then a lot of it was how able were parents to assist with the instruction, because really parents had to take on a much larger role in their children's education. Parents really were there at home with the children. So these were all of the things that we were facing. So what does it take to bring instruction to children when the schools are closed? So we have to provide the students with the means to access the. So obviously we knew that we weren't going to be able to teach all of the curriculum that we would have taught if we were in school all day. So I think it meant to be prioritizing. What were the skills? We really had to outline, looking especially at grades, what were the important skills that students really needed to have before moving forward, and what were we going to do? So we had to really pick and choose. And a lot of planning and organization was very important, as I'll talk about even more as we're doing a lot of organizing. So, and taking it one lesson at a time, that was how we really were able to manage doing it. I think it was very overwhelming. A lot of people, I don't know if you're all feeling the same way, that this was really very challenging in the beginning. So we had to think about, how does this impact children with disabilities? So in a lot of ways, content really should be broken down, just like you would do in a face-to-face lesson with your students. And then a lot of it is so really breaking instruction into smaller components. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go on about accommodations and really how to keep students with disabilities engaged in this process. So you have to build in opportunities for repeated practice and reinforcement. A lot of times you have to have things that are motivating. Sometimes our students don't have the attention spans that other students have. It's almost like you have to have the carrot at the end. Okay, we're rewarding. Like I had certain videos that the children liked, or certain books that I would read to them if we got through our lesson. Then we could do that, or we could do a game. Or I did a lot of theater with my students. I did a lot of readers theater, which they liked, and they all got to be different parts. So they knew that they had to first get their work done, and then they could do the fun stuff. And then you also had to really check to make sure they were retaining those skills before you moved on. And that's when I know you talked about one of your earlier. It was important to really keep track. You really didn't want to move forward unless they really were mastering the skills you were teaching. So we have ways that we were delivering instruction. So really the two big words that we heard were asynchronous learning and synchronous learning. And the asynchronous learning is the instruction delivered during independent activities without the teacher. So basically those are the activities that the children could be doing at home. And that could be in different forms. That the child can access at home. So we're going to talk about that. That access piece is really important, especially when you have students that had different levels of internet access. Sometimes, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, it could be a matter of you were just sending email attachments, because that was really all parents could do. Parents might not have access, they might have weak internet, so you were sending the information that way. Or if you had students that didn't have any internet, you might be sending traditional of what we did. We really had to scramble to make sure the kids were getting something. And then printed materials, we did that. Access to instructional video links for students that had the internet access, and also daily schedules. So that was really important because we found that structure, especially for kids with disabilities, was really important. And it was also very important for families because families were very overwhelmed and they were looking at us for support. They were like, what are we going to do? So, and even not necessarily for kids with disabilities, but for all children. And that structure is very important. So the synchronous learning, that's learning in real time, like we're doing right now. This would be synchronous learning. And it could be in the form of video conferencing, this interactive webinar that we're doing. You could do chat-based, like you're doing on your chat, really where the presentation is broadcast at the same time. And students could access, were either very wealthy or were very not so wealthy. And I had kids using high-powered computers, and then I had kids using their parents' smartphones. So it was really that, how were they able to access and what were they using? So Zoom video conferencing, we also used Google in my district. And you can also do the synchronous learning, could be part of a daily or weekly schedule. And I'm going to show you what a schedule looks like. This was a colleague of mine. And if you notice, this is my friend, Miss Blumenthal. She started the day every morning at 9 o'clock with a Zoom call with the kids. So she met with her group and she kept it to 20 minutes because this was an inclusion class. They were first grade, they were very young. Longer than that would have been very difficult to maintain their attention. You had a group of a lot of students, but we kept that structure. She did that every day. And then she broke into small as well because I was the inclusion. So as the special educator, I had groups that were also working. I was able to do my services later in the day because my kids were accessing the classroom service. And then I did small group with them later in the day. So her programs were till 10 o'clock and then I was meeting with her students at 11. So that gave them a little bit of a break. And then they would come to Zoom math with me or Zoom reading with me. Notice some of these, so you have your Zoom and your small groups. Then the other ones were specific lessons that she assigned to the students. Now, we were able to use a platform. We used a learning management system called Seesaw, and I'm going to talk more about that. But in some cases, what we were doing is, again, there were packets that were either sent out or they were emailed to families. So the children had these lessons that they were to work on. She structured an independent reading time. Then you had this screen. We had our gym teachers were coming online and they were doing some Zoom classes with the kids so that the kids would get their physical activity. And then they would do science. So what we did was we had our science coordinator was recording science lessons. So those were asynchronous. Those were delivered to the students by video link, and the children, their schedule, they were to do a science lesson. And then on Tuesday, they had Spanish. So they were supposed to do their Spanish. So if you see that, all of those lessons were recorded. And, then she did some fun things with the kids. And then they also had music with the music teacher. And that was, again, I think that he did those live. So we have to think about accommodations and modifications for children with disabilities. Really thinking about that in the remote environment. Do they need an adult to scribe written assignments? So we may have a lot where the children are doing independent work and they're writing, but we have to think, do we have kids that have motor challenges that are really going to have a hard time completing a worksheet? As we would do in class, we have modifications. We might have them with larger print, or we might have kids typing things. So in that case, if there's a student, we may ask the parent to scribe for students. Does the text need to be enlarged? And that could be something that could be done before you deliver your instruction, or coaching parents on how to adjust that at home. It was a range of things. And again, there was a lot of interaction with parents. Did they need an audio component to access instruction? For students with reading disabilities, a lot of my students had reading disabilities. Any of the reading, did a lesson where we read a book and we had our own voice with it, or we also were very fortunate in the United States. We have some programs where the children can get audiobooks if they have a documented disability, and they need an iPad or a phone and they can access these books. And that's, we have Learning Ally, and we have Bookshare, which I think might be available. Bookshare, I think, is available internationally. So for students, and that goes with our universal design idea, that in this case, sometimes students would record, they would record answers and send them to us. They would do video recording, or sometimes in some cases, I didn't do this, but some students, the teachers would set up a time where the student could go over the work by phone if they didn't have any other way to communicate. So a lesson would be sent to a student, and then you might have a scheduled time where the teacher. So modifications, again, thinking about kids with disabilities, how much can they handle at one time? So again, it's the idea of breaking things down, not having very long Zoom lessons, or having breaks in between. For synchronous learning, we think about breaks. I often would do that, a 15-minute movement break, because especially for screens, it's a lot of time for the kids to be in front of a screen. For inclusion students, just really focusing on the key concepts, working with the classroom teacher. We might have a content and the reading material, just as I would do in a classroom, would be provided at the level I knew my student could read on their own. If not, I was not giving them an audio or reading to the student. So parent support, that was really critical. So children with disabilities in general succeed when parents are able to be involved. And support for parents was more important than ever. They can make a difference in how well the students were doing. So in a lot of ways, we did a lot of coaching with parents and a lot of support with parents, a lot of phone calls, emails, checking in with parents. I had some parents that I didn't speak to. I couldn't get a hold of them. They were not available. They were not interested. And then I had parents that were really reaching out to me a lot, and they were very concerned. Ways to connect, phone calls, text messages with parents. I had a parent who was very involved, and they had an older sister who was caring for the child at home, but they wanted to remain involved. So we were exchanging text messages at various times of the day. I would check in, the mom would say, I want to know what he's doing, but I can't, I'm not always around. So we had a system where we texted back and forth every day. Video conferencing, I had parents that liked that format. If they had internet, they really liked that, or FaceTime. We were doing common with a lot of families. That was the way I was communicating. And some of my colleagues did some drive-by visits. I did not do that with my students. My school didn't do it. I'm in a very big school, but some of my colleagues, what they did was just to have FaceTime with the kids. They drove by their homes. So that's a lot to ask of. It depends on how big an area your school is in. I didn't do that myself. It's just something I heard other people did. Your planning process. You're going to start with an instructional objective and the content that you want to deliver. So really, you have to think about that. What is it that I want them to do? And then you have to determine what steps are needed in your teaching process, so much as you'd plan a regular lesson. And then you have to really think about, how am I going to deliver this to students? And I'm going to show you some of the ways that I was able to do that. And you also have to differentiate how content and materials are delivered based on their level of access. Flexible. I had students that could be part of Zoom, and I had students that couldn't. And I had a parent that really asked me to just send everything via email. And then we had phone calls, so I could explain to mom everything that we were talking about, so that mom could take the printed material and go over it with her daughter. So we did a lot of different ways to do that. So you're gathering and you're creating your materials for your application that you can deliver in print form, as well as through internet access or offline. And I started with, so I'm talking about myself, I often did a lot with Google Slides and PowerPoint. That was my go-to. And the nice thing about it is now I have this nice library of lessons that I did. So I took a lot of the lessons that I would use a teacher's guide and a workbook and that I would teach, and that I created them and I put them into slides, which is really actually show you some of those. And once the lesson is developed in the format, I can use it to teach online during a real-time lesson, or I can record the lesson to be accessed at a later time. And I did that. I learned how to use QuickTime. So, and I'll show you some of those little things that I did. So there are the components, PowerPoint, Google Slide. So, and then guided practice worksheets. So bear with me. These, and if I will show you first a grade 2, this is a math lesson that I did, and I'll show it to you. So here it was, this was my lesson. We were doing addition and adding close to 100. This is part of, in the US, our 2nd grade math. So if you notice, I put myself on a little elephant. I had my own little emoji here. So, and kind of telling the kids, you'll need something to write with. You can use paper and pencil, whiteboard, dry erase markers. So this was the first step. I created this, and what I could do is, if I was doing a live lesson, I could go through this with my students, and I could also, they also had access to it to go review it later. If sometimes it was something that the parents could be aware of what I was doing. So here we did 2-digit numbers, and I was showing them how to do tens and number one. And I'd give them a second to think about it. They were kind of doing that. It's giving them a way to self-check. And then kind of going through this. So the goal was for them to really understand the components of a 2-digit number, and also to do some adding. I'll kind of go through my slide really quickly. So there I'm showing them how to do adding. This is the way that we do adding in the States. Method. I think that's the method in Asia. I think this comes out of Singapore, a lot of this type of math that we're doing, but this was my way. So now what I did, this lesson was specifically for kids on IEPs. So it's broken down. They had a lesson with their whole classroom, and then this was taking that lesson and then breaking it down even further so that the students would have extra practice with it. So really showing them again, giving them a lot of concrete modeling, which I would do with kind of concrete material to them. I also sent home manipulatives with the kids. I had students, they had some counters that they could use. So I encouraged them to create their own, or to also make drawings like mine were. So as you see, we go through this. And I'm just showing you how we got the answer. So I don't have to go through the whole thing, but I made quite a few of these. If you're interested, I'm happy to share them with you. I'll have to. This is just one particular lesson that I did. So now I am going to show you what I did with this lesson. Can you see my screen? You can still see my screen, right? So I'm hoping that this will show up.
Yes.
Now, this was what I did. I created this into a video. So this was part of my asynchronous learning. Can you see the slide? Okay. So I'm going to play it. This is one of my first attempts.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to lesson 10. We're going to be doing addition strategies of close to 100.
Sorry to interrupt me, Miss A. It's not showing the video. We're still on your presentation.
Okay. Let me, here we go. This should do it. Do you see it now?
With the let's get ready on it.
It's the cat.
Yes.
That's there. Okay.
Start again when you're ready. Let's review two-digit numbers. What number is this? Make sure you look at the tens and the ones. That's right, 54. 5 tens and 4 ones. What number is this? Look carefully at the tens and ones. That's right, it's 73. 7 tens and 3 ones.
I'll spare you so you don't have to listen to me anymore, but you kind of get the idea of what I did. So pretty much what I did was I took that slide that I made, and then using QuickTime, which was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, I was able to record it and I made a QuickTime video. So this was our kids with disabilities, they need a lot of repetition. So if they were listening, if they had the lesson with me, this was a way for them to review it again. So I could, if they had internet access. So I was lucky that any of my kids could they were able to access this somehow with the video, but there were other ways you could do it if you had to, with different devices, if you could do it in an MP4. I don't know, this is something that we were able to get most of the kids some type of internet access. So this would be the kind of lesson that they could really access at any time that they were able to do it. I suggested that they work on a schedule, and they did that. And then I would have some worksheets that I would also send for them that would go home that would have the same type of activities. I'm also going to quit QuickTime here. All right. So I stopped. Okay, screen sharing has stopped. Okay, so now I'm going to just give me a second. I'm going to pull up a reading lesson that I did. Okay, so let me get to let me share this with you. Okay. So this was oops, wrong one. This was a kindergarten reading lesson. Can you see my screen, everybody?
Yeah, I can see the orange foundations.
Yes. So this is a phonics program, and I did the same thing. So my students had been working on the sounds of A and I. So what I did again, and I made a slide for them, and I'll just show you, and then it's like, let's practice the what I was doing live with them. And then we did the short I sound, and then they had to do some words like that. And then this is really young kids, so they're really beginning readers, and this was trying to get them to, they would practice these at home. So you kind of get the idea from that, right? What that looked like. So here's my slide, and then they did their words. I had some pictures to go with them. Significant learning disabilities, and they were identified early on. They had significant phonics issues, in terms of letter and sound, so they needed a lot of repetition. And one thing that we were really concerned about was with school being closed, we were afraid that they would really lose a lot of ground. So we had to get this up and running as quickly as we could. So this program, Foundations, that was the phonics program we were using to teach them. So really following the sequence of those lessons, and just kind of came up with it, just different things. All right, and then I'll show you what I did to make this. If you give me a second, I'm gonna just have to, all right. Okay, let's see if it's gonna let me do a new share. Okay. All right, I'm gonna open it. No, it stopped the sharing. All right, let me share it with you again. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so here is another QuickTime that I did. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to practice using some of the sounds that we've learned to read words. Let's practice the short A sound. Let's practice the short I sound. I, itch, ich. So here are some words that have A and D. I'll read them first and then you read them. Sad, mad, lad. Now you read them. Let's practice words with sad. Look at the picture. Now try it without the pictures. Read each word. So I think you all get the idea of how we did that. And so I found that, so again, this was my asynchronous way to share the lesson. And let me go. Okay. Just give me a second to get me back to where we were. All right. And okay.
The lesson,
Yes,
okay.
that's
It's
where
in full screen.
Yep, great. Okay, so we use different methods of content delivery based on the level of access for teachers and students. So what I did was I thought about 4 levels that students have that we're thinking about. And level 1 is students have no access to internet or access to devices. Those are really kids. I didn't have any of that. I was very fortunate, again, in my district. Have that. But level 2, teachers and students have inconsistent access to internet with minimal device access. We did have a lot of that, where some kids, they were either using an iPad with a weak internet, or some of them were just using data on the parent's phone. Teachers or students have inconsistent access to internet, but they have access to devices. And then level 4, that's great. In the Wellesley, in the town that a lot of the kids I work with live in, they're sorry, let me go back. You know, how we can deliver our content to students with different levels of technology. So I think that's something where, as a district, we had to figure things out, and you have to be creative. So I found I was doing a lot of different things. I had parents that were really struggling with the technology. So a lot of it was just to get them to get to the material. It was them to get the material. And then I had some parents that were just accessing everything very, very easily. So level 1, let's think about these kids. You can use a PDF of the PowerPoint and deliver it to students. You can do it by paper if you have to. Guided practice worksheets printed and delivered to students. I have a friend who just had packets of material and that they were delivering them to students. To the teacher. I actually had a parent, not a level 1 student, but I would have a parent take a picture on the phone of the work that the student did, and then they were texting it to me. So we were really learning to be outside the box on how we were really keeping track of what the kids were doing. And I said, if possible, if you can do a video, if you can deliver it as an MP3 audio or an MP4 or burning it on a disc. I didn't get that far, but that could be something that we could look into. So you have level 2, you have a link available for the student to access online that can be downloaded. So really sometimes you had families that they had a better connection in the afternoon. So when we were teaching, they really couldn't get on or they got bounced off a lot. I did this with some parents. I had to email a lot of the work to them. The files could be downloaded and then accessed offline. If they need them. And the students can return work by email, as I said, so they could either complete the work on the computer or, again, in some cases, I had the parents print the work, or in some cases, I had a student copy something from a screen on a regular piece of paper because they didn't have access to a printer. I had a parent take photographs of the work and then send it to me. And then, of course, your level 3 and 4. You can set up your video conferencing live sessions, which we did our Zoom sessions. You send the invitation to the parent and you teach in real time. You can also record your lesson so that you can have it available for students who might not be able to get on at the time that you're teaching. And then electronic access, and then a learning management system application, which I'm going to talk about a little bit and how to use those. How am I on time?
Minutes.
Okay.
It's 10:50, 11. It's okay to exceed a little bit for the Q&A.
Okay. So I was going to talk about using a learning management system for remote learning. So I don't know if you're familiar with these two. These were the two that I used, but Seesaw or Google Classroom. So for elementary kids, I was using this. I loved Seesaw, I have to tell you. It was free, although you can upgrade to a different one. And I think for the younger kids, it was really very helpful. At least have it on a phone. It could be accessed from a phone, which was very nice. So even if parents didn't have internet, if they had LTE or they had even 3G, 4G, they could get on to do some of the activities on Seesaw and Google, and you could do all your announcements and activities. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you, if you give me a second, I'm going to show you what Seesaw looks like. I'm going to share my screen with you. And so I just logged into Seesaw. This is just a class that I made, KAS, Andrea Stavrakas. And I'm not going to go into this now because it's actually pretty user-friendly, but I'll just show you how I was able to put some of the work online for my students. And then any of those asynchronous videos that I made, I could actually add them to this as an activity. And then the students could access. So I'm going to go to activities. Well, I'm going to go to my sample student and I'm going to go to activities and I'll show you. So these are the different activities that I was able to put online. So you have all different things. This was a number grid. And I'll show you. So here, the student would access this, and what they could do is they have a different way they can respond. So they would be able to use one of the applications, a pencil, or they can type, and they would put it in, and then they would submit this. So here, I'll show you with a pencil. So if I use this one, it would be by the hundreds chart. So I would do that, 20, 30, like that, right? Because it's kind of a blank hundreds chart. And then I would check that off. And then when the student was finished, I could go into that student's journal, and then I could check the work. So that was how that worked. What I really liked about this is I want to show you, if it's free, they have a community library. You have all kinds of activities that you can assign to your students. And the other thing too, you can also use this in your teaching. So in other words, if I have Seesaw, if I have my Seesaw account and I pull this up, I can show some of these materials. So that's Seesaw. And now I'm going to show you Google. Similar, again, it's another free thing. And again, you can put your lessons on there. So can you see my Google? This is from Google Classroom. So I could have announcements, which I don't, but I could put my assignments on here, and then the students complete their assignments here. And I don't have to. Oh, so this is what? This is student work. So that's looking at student work. Sorry. Okay. Instructions. Oh, so here's the activity. So you can see it. And the student could complete that right in Google Classroom and then submit that to me. And then I could keep track of the work that they're doing. And it's all so that's it in a nutshell of what I done. And I know that you all had some questions. So
yeah, we could actually start off our Q&A. Thank you so much for that wonderful session with lots of tips that I'm sure our teachers appreciate. So I'm opening the Q&A box. I can see 3 that are open right now. Do you want to, maybe I could read off some of them.
Okay.
Here's a question from Marichon Andrada. She's asking, what distance learning for students with severe, I suppose that the context there is, what is a distance learning tool probably that are applicable for students with severe disabilities? Do you have any recommendations in that?
I don't work directly with kids with severe. My kids are words. They also were able to interact with students using their communication devices. I think I can't think of what you call them, but like for students with limited verbal ability. So the students had access where I think that they had their device, and then if they could kind of communicate with the device. So, and also some of the keyboards. I know some of our occupational therapists provided students with adapted keyboard communication device. But I could find out. I could actually get back to you with that question if we save the questions, and I could talk to someone who works with more of that population than I do.
Is it Boardmaker, Miss A?
No, it's not Boardmaker. There's a communication device where they kind of have, it looks like Boardmaker, but the kids can communicate by pressing buttons that look like Boardmaker. So, is it some kind of there's a word for it, and I can't think. My daughter's a speech pathologist, and she uses it. So it'll come to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another question here from Reynaldo
Yes.
Tondo. He's asking for the
Okay.
asynchronous speaking activity. How is the assessment or evaluation of the speaking skills of the kids done? Can a member of a family do it, or should it only be done by the teacher?
Teacher do it, and if you could, so the thing is, if you use Seesaw, it's really great because they can actually record their responses. So if you give them an activity, you can have them, so for example, I had kids, just to monitor their reading, I would give them a sheet to read, and then I would ask them to record it, and I would ask the parents not to help them because I would want to see how they were reading. So you can do that, or even if you want to listen to them in real time or record them, you can, like if you're doing like a Zoom, you could record that and then you can kind of play it back or record it any kind of device.
Okay. Here's one question from Lilette Ramos. She's asking, how many people, I suppose, can a Seesaw app accommodate?
You know, I think what happens is if you set up an account, you can have like, you can have like 30 or 40 students. You can set up different classes. I haven't heard that there's a limit to it.
Can I add? So I looked it up. Seesaw can actually accommodate 150 per Seesaw class. And then if you use Seesaw Plus, you can have up to 25 classes on your account.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. By the way, that's Teacher Mai who's joining us on the panel for the Q&A.
Thank you, Mai.
Yeah. So there's another. This one's actually nice. Richard Cortez is asking, how do we embed emotional presence in an online learning? Because we need that in addition to social, cognitive, and teacher presence.
So that was a big thing that we talked about, that social emotional piece and really checking in with kids. We kind of watched kids. We tried to keep track to see who was struggling. In one case, I had a parent tell me that there was one of her son was really able to set up an activity with a couple of, just separately with kids that I knew he would interact with. So we just did a fun Zoom. I set up a specific time so he and another child that I knew he would interact with. This child also had a lot of anxiety, so I like handpicked the students in the group. Our psychologist was checking in and doing sessions with students. And then something I did, I would have group fun activities. We were doing, again, Reader's Theater was very popular. And to kind of get into different characters. You could do games online, like even on Seesaw, there are some little games that you can actually do where the kids are playing together. It's a challenge.
Okay.
Good question.
Yes, that's a great question. There's one from Eunice Japon. She's asking, do you have any apps or approach for students with dyscalculia? I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm reading it right.
There are some really great videos online. There's a, go to YouTube, go to Jack Hartman. He has YouTube videos and he really breaks down a lot of the skills for the kids in terms of, and they do a lot of songs with it. So some of the videos that I made were really keeping kids with dyscalculia in mind, doing a lot of that concrete and that visual stuff. Even if you look on Seesaw, if you type in subatizing, which is really a skill, like kids with dyscalculia have a lot of difficulty seeing parts of numbers. That's very important to do. So that's a good one to use. There's also, oh gosh, I'm trying to think. I can't, there's a couple of math ones too that you can look in. There is Dreambox. I don't know how expensive Dreambox is, but that's another app that modifies based on what they're doing, and they do like different math, and a lot of it's very visual, and it kind of tracks them by where they are in their progress.
Okay. So I know that we're quite short on time, so maybe I could just pick on about 2 or 3 more that we can answer. There's one here that's actually quite interesting. Can you suggest any app or software that can share her screen slides this teacher has to sign to deaf learners? So I suppose
I think you
Zoom.
could use Zoom. It's amazing.
Could you do split screen? Yeah, you could just use split screens, right?
Just share the
Yeah.
screen, and then you could just kind of the speaker, however you want to use the speaker. Yeah.
I think other applications too, Microsoft Teams would probably be able to support that as well. I'm not sure about Google Meet, but probably there is a functionality like that. Okay,
Google Meet's they're really catching up. They've done a lot. We started in a while, but
yeah, okay. So yeah, there's somebody who's asking, can they ask for your email address? I suppose they want to get in touch with you.
Oh, sure. So I put it actually on my last slide. I should have, I had it at the, through the Teachers Gallery is probably the best way. Would that be the best way? Info at Teachers Gallery. And then you can kind of, anybody who wants to get in touch with me that way.
Okay, sure. Maybe we could just flash it right now.
Yeah, I'll do that really quickly. Okay, hold on, give me a second. Whoops. All right, hold on. Sorry. Oops. Nope. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I could see the website, www.theteachersgallery.com.
Info at theteachersgallery.com.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, there. So you can just send in an email there. That'll be great.
And say, just put in the subject line for Andrea.
Okay. All right. So probably we can just do one last question. Here's one that's actually interesting from Josan Godisan. The question is, what strategy is applicable for children with visual impairment for distance learning?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the audio and enlarging font, which is one of the things that we can do. And I think I'm not a technology like specific person, but I think if you go into settings, there's a way that you can like increase the screen if you're using a regular screen. And I think you can do that on an iPad as well. Adaptations for people that are in settings somehow to do it. I don't know. I can inquire and find out for you exactly what to do, but you can magnify things so that things are larger.
Yeah, okay. Is it okay if we just do one last question? I actually found one that's interesting. So I do apologize, we can't accommodate all of them, but maybe you could send an email and I'm sure Andrea could send you a reply. But this one this. And the question goes, have you tried doing a circle time or group time with students? I'm struggling with having them participate because they get easily distracted. How many students would you advise to have in a circle time meeting? And how long is the circle time? How do I maintain their attention?
It's really challenging. We've done, I've helped my teacher, because usually I work with small groups, but I also push into classrooms. We've done up to 25. But what and I can share it with you, our occupational therapist came up with a visual giving the kids guidelines for how their bodies were supposed to be during the group, like where they're supposed to see their faces in the screen, and really going over behavioral expectations, and then keep it short. It was pretty good. I mean, there's always, you're always going to have one or two that aren't going to be able to do that. Like in the beginning, we had kids like laying on their beds, eating their breakfast. But that really helped. It's, I do have that. It's a picture that she did just on what the expected behavior and what your body should look like and keeping your body calm and and those things. So I can share those.
Okay, so thank you so much. That's been quite a lot of information. Do you have any last words before we end your session for this morning?
No, I can just say it's been my pleasure, as always, to work. I'm happy to work with all of you. And, even though I can't see all of you, thank you so much for inviting me to come speak with you. It's an honor. And stay safe, everybody, and take care of yourselves.
Okay, so thank you so much to Andrea, and of course to Teacher Mai, who's also joined us in the panel this morning. We are so pleased and grateful for your time and for taking time. I'm sure that it's quite late right now, and I don't want to keep you too long from your sleep. And to the 500 plus people, 520 people who have attended this session, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you here. So I just want to address some of your questions. Of course, I just want to repeat my little explanation on how to get your certificates. So if you open Zoom, there's a Google form that would appear automatically in your default browser. So you can actually answer that Google form. So please, when you answer the Google form, make sure the correct spelling of your name is inputted in that form, because that's going to be the basis of the name that we will put in your digital certificate, which we will email to you about 24 hours after you've submitted that form. Now, if you want slides or anything like that, please make sure that you answer yes when we in the form when we ask for the slides. We'll be flashing the URL. Jean, could you put up the URL on the screen for the Google form? Okay, there it is. Okay, so please go to it. If you missed out on the Google form in your default browser, it's right there. We will also try to send that out about within 24 hours of this end of this session. So if you miss this out, you can always go click that. So some of you are probably asking about additional webinars. We are trying to work out our next session of webinars, but what we have right now that's confirmed in the schedule is the one we've flashing right now on the screen. That's July 28th. That's Friday. I think that's next week. We have maximizing context-based learning in the time of pandemic, and we have Edwenha Eleanor Paderna to discuss that topic with us. So if you're interested to join that, please just go to that registration URL and register for the free webinar. You can also try visiting our webpage at www.facebook.com/CE Publishing. We'll put up the link for the registration there. And you can also try to check our official webpage, www.cepublishing.com. So if you want to contact us for any other concerns, maybe we missed out sending you some certificates in the past, please just let us know through customer service@cebookshop.com. So I think Jean's putting up the URL for the form on the chat, so it's easier for you to copy and paste that and go to the form itself. So again, on behalf of CNE Publishing, we would like to thank, of course, our speaker for today, Andrea Stavrakas, and of course, Teacher Mai for joining us this morning. I hope you have a pleasant day and stay safe, everyone. We hope to see you again soon once we've cleared the pandemic. But for now, we hope to see you virtually like this one on the next session. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, Miss Bloom. Thanks, Miss Jean.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Andrea.
Miss Andrea.
Thank you. Night.
Hi, I'm a student like you. This is me at university. Now listen up. I know how much this could help you. I'm Abby. This is my lab and mastering. You see, it's how they help you learn that's cool. Yes, my lab and mastering provide you with study and revision tools. But the thing is that you can access them on your devices, anywhere, anytime. Perfect for my late night cramming sessions. Or at the cafe, on the way to uni. Come to think of it, practically anywhere you want. When you're using My Lab and Mastering, it provides progress checks and instant feedback. You see, what you study is personalized to you, no matter who you are. Like having your own private tutor to help you identify what things you should work on. As a student, sometimes I feel overwhelmed with what I need to study, and I try to take in everything at once. But MyLab and Mastering makes things easier. They provide content which is relevant to me. It's based on my needs, and it's digestible. The best thing about MyLab and Mastering is that they're for me, but they're for you too. You, and you.
Welcome to PrepU. What is PrepU? PrepU is an adaptive quizzing program designed to improve students' content knowledge through targeted practice. PrepU also helps instructors with in-depth, real-time analysis of their students' knowledge. At the heart of PrepU is a library of quiz questions that, with the help of students across North America, has been calibrated, determining each question's level of difficulty. As students take quizzes, PrepU monitors their progress, assessing their level of comprehension, or in PrepU terms, their mastery level. Based on this information, PrepU can more effectively tailor its quizzes so that the students are appropriately challenged. This level of challenge is known as the zone of proximal development and is where most learning takes place because the student is ready for that level. This process also provides specific data that allows instructors to best determine which students require remediation. How does PrepU help instructors? Faculty can simply access the How's My Class Doing page to gain detailed real-time data on student performance, both individually and collectively. Additional information is also available, such as average mastery level scores, class strengths and weaknesses, how often students use PrepU, and alerts about students' common misconceptions. Armed with this information, faculty can effectively and efficiently customize their curriculum. PrepU also allows faculty to review a library of high-quality questions, rich with historic answer data, misconception considerations, and a variety of sorting options. How does PrepU help students? PrepU allows students to quickly assess their progress and determine where they need assistance. By accessing the How Am I Doing page, students can quickly track their progress and see where they need to focus their studies. Practice quizzes are a key student resource in PrepU. Students choose the chapter or chapters on which they want to be quizzed. PrepU's adaptive system then looks at how the student performed on previous quizzes and chooses questions that precisely target that student's mastery level. As a result, students are challenged with questions that are difficult enough to help them learn, but not so difficult that they become overwhelmed. After the quiz, PrepU provides a detailed rationale for each question. In addition, students receive direction to where they can find information in their associated Lippincott course textbook. Faculty are amazed by the positive results that their students have had with PrepU.
By having students take quizzes before the exam, I am able to provide the individual student and the entire class direction to specific areas to focus their study so they can prepare for the exam.
Seeing where my students are having trouble this semester through PrepU will change how I teach this material next semester.
So what is PrepU? PrepU is smarter than the average quiz. Improving student outcomes, improving instructors' effectiveness. PrepU leads to successful courses and students. Now PrepU is available for your courses. To learn more, visit the point today.
I can't wait to teach my students to memorize this semester.
I love having to have 10 Wikipedia articles open to learn one thing.
I love sending my students to 5 different locations in order to complete one assignment.
I love waiting an entire semester to find out a grade that I should have gotten in the first week of class.
I love having 9 different logons for the same course.
One of my favorite things about the internet is Facebook postings as sources in student work.
Because that's fun. Who doesn't like doing that?
Nobody likes doing that. That's why there's MindTap. MindTap is the digital learning solution that transforms today's students into critical thinkers. Through personalized paths of dynamic assignments and applications, MindTap turns cookie cutter into cutting edge, apathy into engagement, and memorizers into higher level thinkers.
MindTap provides a really unique learning path where the path itself follows Bloom's taxonomy, so the students in the worksheets are getting the knowledge that they need to have, and then through the brief hypotheticals and the videos, they're getting a little higher level thinking, more the comprehension, more the application. And then finally, we have the blueprints where the students are actually using critical analysis to solve problems.
Thanks to MindTap's carefully curated material, you get the precise content and groundbreaking tools and applications you need for every course you teach. MindTap takes students through the streets of Rome to study the Colosseum. With UCU MindApp, students interactively practice and present speeches rather than practicing in front of a mirror. In addition, MindTap's innovative personalization tools allows you to customize every element of your course, from rearranging the table of contents to inserting videos, comments, activities, and more into the MindTap reader itself.
I have the opportunity to go in the learning path, add my own assignments.
I think it's very important for the professor to put in what they want, or else the students won't know what's going on, because the textbook alone is never enough.
I am able to customize the course, not only with personal content, but I'm able to choose the things that I know are going to work for my individual student population.
With MindTap, instructors promote positive outcomes by tracking students in real time and tailoring your course and lectures as needed based on the analytics in MindTap.
The analytics in MindTap are amazing. I am able to see what students are doing, how much time they're spending, which activities they're spending their time in, and I see a direct correlation in terms of the breakdown of grades.
When we got to the analytics screen and I saw how easy all of that stuff was compared to what I was doing in the past, that was instantaneously obvious to me, a massive time saver.
Gone are the days of studying in a dorm room or library. Students' hectic schedules require tools that support their on-the-go lifestyles.
I think my biggest struggle as a college student is studying on time.
Today's student is overwhelmed.
Students come to me with a different level of technical knowledge.
So it's a kind of an odd mix of experience levels, life experience, and maturity.
The biggest struggle is time management and juggling.
MindTap's Read Speaker reads chapters aloud for students who learn best through listening or need to learn on the go. And the new MindTap mobile app allows for unparalleled flexibility by helping students stay in touch and study for exams anytime and anywhere.
I love MindTap.
I love MindTap. One of my students said to me, I wish I had MindTap for every course.
Because a lot of students these days study on the go, so if I'm on BART, I have an hour to kill, I would like to just pull out an iPad or a phone and look at my textbook.
By the final, I had another 5%, half a letter grade increase between the midterm and the final in that class based on using MindTap. And it's working so well, MindTap accounts for 45% of their course grade.
I love MindTap. MindTap definitely provides me with all of the elements I need to succeed as an instructor, but more importantly, MindTap provides all of the elements my students need to succeed as well.
Turn the light on with MindTap.
Today's students face constant challenges and often feel great anxiety when it comes to studying. The aim of Wiley Plus is to minimize anxiety so that students can engage in learning in a positive, motivating, and supportive environment where they can feel proud of their successes. Research indicates that student motivation is fueled by confidence, and confidence reduces anxiety. Many students want to take individual initiative. They're actively looking for new ways to stay motivated and become more engaged with their own learning.
I want to manage my time better. I want to study more effectively. I just don't know how.
Similarly, instructors want to see students coming to class excited to learn, prepared to participate, and confident to challenge themselves.
When they're prepared, they're engaged and participating. That's when it gets really exciting. They start to think more critically.
Wiley Plus builds students' confidence because it takes the guesswork out of studying by providing them with a clear roadmap of what to do, how to do it, and if they did it right. The complete digital textbook accompanied by interactive resources and assessment help improve the overall learning experience and student outcomes. Our research shows that students experience anxiety when it comes to studying. Wiley Plus helps to alleviate this anxiety by providing a structured learning environment that helps students focus on exactly what they need to do. With Wiley Plus, students see assignments and progress at a glance so they can stay on track. To keep students motivated throughout the semester, Wiley Plus shows students how to do it at a pace that's right for them. Integrated resources are available anytime, anywhere. These resources address each student's demonstrated needs and provide support when it's needed most. Integrated multimedia resources offer contextual links to the online digital text. You'll get MP3 downloads, demonstration problems, animations, and much more. Wiley Plus makes sure each study session has a positive outcome by providing students with a clear path to studying success. Instant feedback and study objective reports let students know if they did it right and what topics they need to concentrate on so they can get the best results. You can easily spot trends and pinpoint concepts that may need further review in class, and students have the study tools to help them study smarter.
Instructor and student tested by millions of users and supported by content from over 300 leading Wiley textbooks. Wiley Plus puts the power of information into the hands of the user and is proven to increase student success inside and outside the classroom. Confidence, motivation, success.